Hi guys, Jessica here from the Healing Hands Duo, and today I'm just making a really informal kind of video because I wanted to post this. I'm not even sure I'll post this on my YouTube channel. I might just post it on Facebook. But the reason why I really wanted to make this is because Kevin and I just recently uploaded a video about us attending an event downtown with a global ambassador for peace. And some people are probably thinking that that seems a little bit out of sorts on our YouTube channel. And I do want to put that out there, that I think that there's this stigma around spirituality and meditation. And that you need to be, committed yogi and all these things, just because I know of a lot of people who I've mentioned in the past that Kevin and I kind of meditate and we're into a little bit into yoga, not much into yoga. I'd love to be more into yoga. I think it's an amazing practice to take up to reduce stress. It's just I haven't had the time to do it, and I know that there is no excuse for that. Everybody has 15 or 20 minutes a day. I've just been working a lot. Nonetheless, once I do get past this renovation and some of these other things and I get caught up on some of my channel and this project that we're working on, I do intend to possibly take up more classes in yoga and actually get more connected back to my meditation practices. However, Kevin is very committed to this practice. He's been doing it now for about 7 months. For those of you that don't know, I feel like a lot of friends and family probably don't know that we are part of this organization or that we've done this program. So I'm telling people that we did, and I think it's really great for those of you that want to try something new. I think there is this stigma around meditation and spirituality that you need to be, and this again is not to offend anybody or any yogis or anything like that, but Kevin and I, for me personally, I've always been rough around the edges, per se. Like a lot of people, when they meet me, they think, I'm kind of a little hard and I'm very outspoken and I'm kind of loud and whatnot. And to be honest, lately I feel like I'm getting more reserved, and maybe the meditation has something to do with that. In the last couple of years, I do believe truly from the bottom of my heart that I am not the same person that most people believed me to be or had perceived me to be, even up to about 2 or 3 years ago. I've gone through some life experiences that have really changed me, in the sense of they have made me come into my real person, if that makes any sense. For years, I feel like I was hiding the true person that I always knew that I was and who I really wanted to be. And for the first time in my life, I'm starting to feel comfortable with who I am. So I think with the things that we've been doing lately, of course, it first started off with nutrition, and then it started off with doing a lot of energy work and electromedicine and all that. And I think when you get into something like this, or when you develop something like a chronic illness where it does bring you to a place where it humbles you, it scares the crap out of you, and at times, you do think that maybe you might be dying, so you feel like you do find something more than just yourself. And I think you do realize that there's just so much more to life than just your own individual selfish needs. I think that's when you start to open up to selflessness, and I think that's when I found, I knew I had always been somewhat spiritual as a child. Again, like I've said in other videos, I've always had these abilities where I could, feel things that other people apparently couldn't feel. I had very vivid visions of things. I could see things. I would get these weird senses all the time. But the thing is in this last couple years, my shift in spirituality has changed. I just realize now at a global scale how important we all are to the balance of this planet and the world and the universe. And I think it's so important to come together with groups of people that are like-minded, or even talk to people about these things, to bring people back together so that we could start to work and live in harmony again. Because the world, for the last I don't know, decade, I would believe that most people could see that there are many things that are happening on the planet right now that a lot of people just wake up every day and they're like, you know, what's the point? And look what has happened to the world, and where's the world gone? And I think I've heard that over and over again from various different people, and it just depends on what groups I'm hanging around with. Because, you know, like this past week when we were at the Roy Thompson Hall having our experience there, everybody was actually very hopeful of where the world was heading, and everybody had these really amazing things to say about their current lives. And again, I don't know if that's because most of these people have found spirituality and yoga and all of these practices that just generally make you happier. Spirituality and religion are completely different. They're nothing in the same. Kevin and I don't follow any type of religion. I was born and raised into Catholicism. I do not follow Catholicism anymore. I do have family that were raised into Christianity. I do not follow Christianity anymore. That's not to say that I don't believe in scripture. That's not to believe that I don't think that there's a lot of history in all the religions. I think everybody's got some aspect of some parts of their religion right, and other aspects maybe are not even necessarily wrong, but have just been interpreted wrong, is what I personally believe. That may not be your belief system, and I understand that, and that's entirely your opinion. And spirituality is just on another level altogether. There are some people who tend to follow Buddha or Hinduism or something along those lines, and Kevin has read most of the scripture on both of those. I personally, since I was very little, I had read a couple of books and stuff like that all kind of swayed me towards more or less like pagan religions. However, I don't follow any pagan religions either. This video entirely was going to be specifically about that I think there is this stigma about when you become spiritual. Some people are like, oh, you're spiritual now, so you're weird and you're boring. Because I'm specifically quoting one person that I heard say this in the last little while, who actually thinks that people who meditate and are spiritual, they're just people who are constantly sitting around and, you know, constantly meditating, and we're boring. And I don't think that that's true at all. I think the other reason why a lot of people should look into meditation and spirituality is because there is a lot of science now to back up the practices and the breathing exercises that are learned in meditation, especially if you're somebody that's struggling with a high-paced, stressful life, or if you're somebody who is suffering with depression or anxiety. There is plenty of support and evidence, and if I can, I will post a lot of that down below, where they're doing they're smaller studies, but they're doing studies with like 30 or 20 or 10 people, and they're taking control groups, and they're showing that people, and there's one specifically that I just read, where they sent 30 people off. They split them straight down the middle, and they sent 15 people off to like a relaxation resort and 15 people off to another resort where they got to do mindfulness and meditation. And after collaborating and this is actually taking brain scans and taking blood samples from both groups. After they had come back, I believe they were at a retreat for 3 days. The group in the mindfulness and meditation group actually expressed with new connective markers or neural development in the brain, which meant that they had built new connections in their brain that helped to reduce stress, which in turn would make them better adapted to dealing with stressful situations. And the other thing was that their inflammatory markers found in their blood had actually decreased, which meant that they were less likely to develop inflammatory disease-like conditions. So as you can see, just 3 days of meditation does make a huge difference. So when you're developing this practice as a daily practice, for instance, like Kevin's been doing it for 7 months, I'm not going to lie, I'm not very good at it. I do meditate a couple times a week. I'd like to get back to doing it every day, even if it is just for 10 or 15 minutes, because I think that's another thing. When you start to meditate, I think it becomes very overwhelming, because it did for me, was to try and get into like a full 1 hour meditation every day, or half an hour, even more. So I think starting off small is probably a good way to start. Maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just sitting in silence. Even if you don't learn or take on a breathing exercise right away, just sitting there in silence and being aware of your body. So the actual physical moment that you are expressing or feeling these things. So if it's an emotion, if you're feeling sad, you really want to concentrate on that, or you want to concentrate on maybe a pain that you feel in your body. And the idea is to get into that mindset of paying attention to that specific area or emotion and giving it credit and actually accepting that you're feeling this way. And I think that's a big thing for meditation, is actually understanding and accepting why you feel this particular pain or emotion. I think for a lot of us, what we do is we kind of tend to put our emotions on the back burner often, or pain. We try to either suppress pain by taking pain medication, and we're just always constantly trying to ignore the things that are happening in the physical and in the emotional. And even when you work with psychologists, they'll always tell you that you should actually bring these things to the forefront in order to deal with them. Again, you are also changing not only your physiology and your body, you're also dealing with psychological issues at a deeper level. That's why Kevin and I started to do all this stuff in yoga and meditation and becoming conscious and wanting to be awakened and reading about the science of consciousness, which is why we've become a part of this program. Because the other thing about Sri Sri Ravi Shankar is he's also got a degree in physics. So he's very science-based. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there, because I think people just have a really huge misconception about what meditation is, what yoga is, what spirituality is. This is really neat, and they do a program called the Intuitive Program. So you might want to look that up. I will post some links maybe down below. But it's where they take children from the age of 5 to 18, and they're saying that kids are extremely intuitive. So what they do, and Kevin and I saw this firsthand, and it was absolutely amazing, is what they do is they teach children how to use their sixth sense again. I know a lot of people are going to think this is voodoo and that it doesn't exist, or it's magic or witchcraft. But it's not. They're actually coming out with the science to prove how this is possible. It hasn't been brought to the Western world yet. It is very big globally in other parts of the world already. These programs have started. Honestly, the first time I saw it, it reminded me of The Matrix, in that one scene where Neo walks into the room with the Oracle and the kids were like bending the spoons. And they are not necessarily bending spoons, but what they do is they take these kids, they blindfold them, and they will give them books, or somebody will write a note, or they will give them various things, letters or dice or anything like that. And with the child using their sixth sense, the children are able to read completely blindfolded by feeling a book or having the book put in front of them. Again, like I said, I will post something down below. It is absolutely amazing. It's something you really need to look at and see for yourself in order to believe it.
3. Passion fruit.
Children are, as it is, very intuitive, and just like when you listen to the radio, what do? You just tune into the right frequency to listen to the right FM channel. The same way we help children to tune into that right frequency.
After meditating, you tend to become more intuitive yourself, which is another reason why Kevin and I have taken it up. And I feel like both of us are becoming more intuitive, also more clear in our thoughts, in our mind, and our decisions, less afraid. Our fear has dropped off quite a bit. Like I said, we're working on a huge project. I'm taking a huge risk here in the next 2 to 3 months, and I am just a lot more calmer than I would have been deciding to do something like this than even 5 years ago, 2 years ago, really, to be honest. You know, Sri mentions that if, you know, you come up to a stressful situation or a situation of conflict, you're actually supposed to stop breathing for literally 10 seconds. And this might be something that you all might want to try. Stop breathing for 10 seconds. And by the time you've held your breath for 10 to 15 seconds, it already has allowed you to calm down and given you some time to think about what you're going to respond with in that particular situation. I just really wanted to get something out there to follow up with the last video that we did, because I felt like we didn't explain enough in that video, and because, you know, I really don't think people understand what meditation and yoga really is. I think even yoga there's been a big misconception around yoga lately too, where a lot of people are now doing yoga thinking that yoga is not a spiritual practice, but more so an exercise. And again, it is great for the body and it does help to exercise the body. That's not where yoga originally originated from. I think there's a lot of people who think it is just exercise. And although Kevin and I have done intensive yoga and for exercise purposes, and I'm telling you, I got more fit doing yoga than I did any other type of training in my life, to be honest. And I did develop more flexibility, and Kevin has vowed for that too, that he says he sweats pretty intensely when we've done yoga. Anyway, gotta go. My contractor's here. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.